Red 1, the much-awaited Christmas movie starring the likes of JK Simmons, Lucy Liu, Chris Evans, and Dwayne Johnson is here. Although critics don't have a unified verdict on if the movie should be put up on the naughty list, it's beyond doubt that kids are gonna love it. Unfortunately enough, the movie has been rated PG-13. Nevertheless, what really works for the movie are the various creatures and monsters from mythology and folklore, and in this video, we're gonna explore all 11 major creatures that appeared in Red 1. So without further ado, let's begin.
Evening, ladies. What are you so excited about? Of course, your boyfriend.
Number 1. Reindeer. One of the very first creatures you meet in the movie are these supermassive reindeer who can totally light your day up, as well as they light up their antlers. These magnificent creatures are, of course, Santa's ride to the entire world. And when these beasts run with the sleigh behind and Santa on it, it becomes a sight to behold. They can zoom past fighter jets like taking over a cyclist in a Lamborghini. Of course, they fly, because what good are Santa's reindeer if they cannot fly, right? But that's not all. They can also create sonic booms to travel at unimaginable speeds, which is basically how Santa travels from the North Pole to various parts of the world, all before midnight, and across the 24 time zones. The size and stature of the reindeer from the movie are awe-inspiring, but they're not just beasts of burden or Santa's transportation. When the time comes, they can go full attack mode, and take a witch or two with their glowing antlers and coordinated attacks. Of course, Santa has to call upon them to do so. Number 2. Santa. Played by good old JK Simmons, this Santa is pretty much how Santa should be. I mean, people have been bashing the movie for lacking cheer, but come on, why can't a Santa movie be a bit more believable, right? So anyway, the Santa played by Simmons is a high-end government official, who's protected by what you may call a small army. Oh, and he's like super strong. There's a scene where Santa and his head of security, played by Johnson, are doing weights, as in Johnson is helping Simmons lift, and you can understand how strong a man, or Santa, he is. If that's not enough, this guy does 500 push-ups in under 5 minutes to warm up, and burns over 430 million calories every Christmas Eve. JK Simmons did a really great job in my opinion, and as I was saying, he's the Santa we didn't know we needed. Number 3. Krampus. Krampus, the goat-headed demigod from European folklore, is definitely my most favorite character from the movie. In Red 1, Krampus is portrayed by Christopher Hivju, who sought to deepen the character beyond his imposing costume. Hivju chose to play Krampus with feminine, narcissistic, and self-indulgent traits, which created a disturbing as well as a compelling portrayal. Although not the main antagonist, Krampus is depicted as Nick's foster sibling and is credited with creating the infamous naughty list. Both characters share the goal of influencing children's behavior, but differ in methods. Krampus believes in punishment, while Nick focuses on reward. Hivju's Krampus struggles with his sense of loyalty, and acts somewhat as a double agent throughout the story. Despite his conflicted role, he has a deep affection for his holiday, Krampusnacht, which is still celebrated in parts of Europe with parades, parties, and festivities involving alcohol. This enduring tradition highlights Krampus' significant place in pop culture. The film explores Krampus' internal conflicts and his complex relationship with Nick, blending classic elements of the folklore with new character dimensions. By delving into his traditional role as the enforcer of punishment for the naughty, Red 1 offers a fresh perspective on this legendary figure. The legend of Krampus originated from 17th century Austria and Germany. Krampus is known for punishing misbehaving children, contrasting with Santa Claus, who rewards the well-behaved. Traditional tales depict Krampus capturing naughty kids and placing them in a basket on his back, only to subject them to harsh punishments. Number 4. Agent Garcia the Polar. Among the many great things about Red 1, Agent Garcia, the anthropomorphic polar bear, has to be mentioned. Apart from Dwayne Johnson, Garcia was the muscle, and I would say the real muscle in Santa's squad. He was this big guy who could not only throw a punch, but could easily intimidate the strongest of souls out there, and that's a major reason why he was here on the team. Unfortunately though, apart from this, Garcia didn't have much of a role. I mean, he pushed and squeezed Chris Evans a few times, but that's it until the final sequence where he fights again. Number 5. Trolls. Now, from Lord of the Rings to Harry Potter, everywhere you go and everything you watch, trolls are shown in a bad light, but not in Red 1. Here, the trolls actually work as the tech guys, or the computer guys, for Santa and his people. Also, they work for MORA, which is short for Mythological Oversight and Restoration Authority, a multilateral military organization that oversees and protects a secret peace treaty between mythological creatures and humanity. Of course, they're in their shabby avatars, unorganized and munching all the time, even at work. But yeah, these trolls are geeky, super smart, and can be seen wearing spectacles. So yeah, I found this particular spin on the overused and traditional portrayal of trolls quite interesting, and it honestly felt like a breath of fresh air. Number 6. Gryla. Kiernan Shipka plays Gryla in the movie, and I gotta be honest, although I like her as an actress, she felt heavily miscast as Gryla. We probably need a more mature or slightly older actress to play the evil Christmas witch. In the movie, Gryla, a winter witch and former lover of Krampus, is the one who orchestrates the kidnapping of Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. With the help of her sons, she holds Santa captive in a vault at the North Pole and drains his magical powers, rendering him unconscious. Gryla's sinister plan involves duplicating the Glaskafig, a magical snow globe that can imprison individuals. She aims to use these snow globes to trap every child who has ever appeared on Santa's naughty list, effectively removing them from the world. When Jack O'Malley, who unwittingly compromised the North Pole's location, teams up with Callum Drift to find Santa, they discover Gryla is behind the abduction. Aware of their pursuit, Gryla sends her snowmen to eliminate them, but they survive the attack. Gryla tests her imprisoning snow globes on Jack and his estranged son Dylan, successfully trapping them. While confined, Jack and Dylan reconcile, and their newfound niceness causes the snow globes to break, freeing them both. Using a tracker placed on Jack, director Zoe Harlow and Callum realize that Gryla never left the North Pole. They discover that she's taken over the complex with her team of shapeshifters and has imprisoned Mrs. Claus and the security staff. Gryla prepares to use Santa's sleigh to distribute the enchanted snow globes globally. In the final confrontation, Callum and Jack, with unexpected assistance from Krampus, confront Gryla. They manage to stop her, sealing Gryla inside one of her own snow globes. She's then handed over to Zoe's custody, ending her threat and allowing Christmas to proceed as planned. Number 7. Snowmen. As I mentioned earlier, the Snowmen were basically Gryla's henchmen, and tried to freeze the hell out of Jack and Callum Drift. Interestingly enough, they could sustain any form of attack, even heat, as long as their carrot noses were intact. Once you took them off their heads, they'd fall like a stack of cards in the middle of a tornado. Number 8. Hellhounds. The hellhounds in the movie served as guards to Krampus. Unfortunately though, they were pretty dumb creatures, and I don't think they were very efficient either, because 2 of these intimidating and scary beasts could not catch one magical chicken unleashed by Callum. Number 9. Elves. Now coming to the elves, I believe the greatest disappointment to me were the worker elves that helped Big Ol' Nick wrap the presents. I mean, it was just the poor CGI, which made them look bad, especially when you know that the movie cost approximately $250 million to make. Now, it's another thing altogether that 1/5 of that budget, that's a good $50 million, were spent because Mr. Johnson would arrive 7 to 8 hours late to the set, or simply would not show up. But I'm just saying what the reports have mentioned, and moreover, people like ex-Captain America have defended Johnson. Anyway, coming back to the elves, they were like these squiggly looking creatures that could have been done better, especially since it was a Santa movie. You do expect them to pay some attention to detail, right? Number 10. Headless Horseman. The Headless Horseman is the first mythological monster that Chris Evans' Jack sees in the movie. Needless to say, this Headless Horseman appeared without his head, and had a fire-breathing horse to accompany him. A notable example of the Headless Horseman is the Dullahan from Irish folklore, a demonic fairy who rides a horse while holding his head under his arms. Another famous tale is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, by Washington Irving, written in 1820. This story had been adapted into various films, including Disney's 1949 animated The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and Tim Burton's 1999 film Sleepy Hollow. In German legends, particularly from the Rhineland, headless horsemen are revenants who kill victims merely by touching them, without the need for decapitation. These spirits are condemned to wander the earth until they atone for their sins, sometimes performing good deeds for strangers. Instead of shaking hands in gratitude, they and the stranger hold a tree branch, which withers and dies instead of harming the stranger. Another German tale features Der Kopflosreiter, a headless horseman who warns the living of impending danger and punishes the wicked. English folklore speaks of a headless rider haunting Dartmoor in Devon. In Arthurian legend, the Green Knight appears at King Arthur's court, challenging anyone to strike him with an axe, promising to return the same blow in a year. Sir Gawain accepts, beheading the Green Knight, who then picks up his head and reminds Gawain to meet him at the Green Chapel to fulfill the challenge. In American folklore, particularly in southern Texas, stories of El Muerto have circulated since the mid-1800s. El Muerto is depicted as dangling his head from his saddle, and his horse is sometimes said to produce lightning from its hooves. This legend may be based on a tale of a man beheaded for stealing horses. His decapitated body was tied to a wild horse, with his head attached to the saddle pommel, and the horse was set loose as a grim warning to others. Number 11. Jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern also appears in the same scene as above, but I do not suppose there's anything I can tell you that you don't already know. How about a quick backstory of the creature? In one version of the Jack-o'-lantern tale, a thief named Jack is fleeing from villagers that he robbed. He encounters Satan, who tells him that his time is up, Cleverly, Jack delays his fate by offering him an opportunity to trick the devout villagers chasing him. He suggests that Satan turn into a coin to pay for the stolen goods. When the coin disappears, the villagers argue over who took it. He agrees and transforms into a silver coin, jumping into Jack's wallet. However, inside the wallet, he finds himself trapped next to a cross Jack had picked up, which strips him of his powers. Jack releases him only after extracting a promise that his soul will never be taken. Years later, Jack dies. His sinful life prevents him from entering heaven, but Satan keeps his word and bars him from hell as well. Left with nowhere to go, Jack asks how he will find his way without light. Mockingly, Satan throws him a burning coal. Jack carves out a turnip, his favorite food, places the coal inside, and begins his endless wanderings in search of a resting place. From then on, he's known as Jack of the Lantern, or Jack-o'-lantern. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.